Okay, this is just a quick little video. I couldn't find the image I was looking for in terms of how to properly close jump rings, but I saw some things in a video that I was a little, I thought maybe we could make an improvement. I was seeing some gapped rings that were created by a mailer, and I thought I'd just kind of walk through like what I was seeing and how I thought I could fix that. So I don't have the exact same rings that they were using. As far as I know, they're using TRL. Frost anodized rings. They were using, I think, 16 gauge 1/4. I've got 16 gauge 5/16. I managed to find that off the shelf. Anyway, what I was seeing in the video was I was seeing a bit of parallel hand movement to close rings like this, and I wasn't seeing a lot of grip on the ring, so I was seeing a bit of a gap and not necessarily an even or parallel end closure. So I was just kind of watching them close rings at Mach 1, and they weren't applying the pressure to close the gaps. They were having issues with the gaps. So there's a trick that many of us use, which is rather than just quick twist to close the rings, we'll actually take the ring, and you'll notice I'm using a completely different hand position here. This is my standard hand position because it gives me the strength and the force and the ability to actually touch the rings and push them. So what you'll actually see a lot of us do is we'll open rings. And when we do that, I'm applying force to the ends of the ring to push the ends of the ring together. I'm actually pushing my hands towards each other. So when I do that, if I just tried to twist the ring closed at this point, I'm actually hitting the ends of the ring. The ends are actually touching, right? They're a little overlapped. And that's good because what I want to do is I actually want to just push them enough so that when I close it, I hear a little click. And that click tells me the ends of the ring are hitting each other and they're pushing up against each other. And you'll notice right now, I can't see a line. Now, when I let go of the plier, let go of the ring, it's entirely possible it'll spring back, pushes the ring around. And right now, this is just a little off. And I'll just touch that to try and fix the closure. All right, and you'll see us do that. And then what you'll also see us do is we'll do this little finger rub over the ring, looking for the gap. Now, what I tend to do is I tend not to do the finger rub, is I can see the closure pretty clearly, even more so than you're seeing it on the camera right now. It's very, very, very smooth for me. Now, there's a little bit of a line here, and that's normal. That's where the saw cut ring ends are just never going to line up quite perfectly. But this is perfectly smooth. What you'll see me do is I will close a ring, and I don't do this outside the weave typically. I will close the ring, and I'm looking down at it, and I'm looking at it from one angle, and you'll see me let go, and then look at it real quick. There's this little flip. And I'm doing two things here. So I'm looking for, all right, is the ring in alignment on the vertical plane and on the horizontal plane? Because one of the things that can happen is if you apply too much force in the wrong direction, I'm going to deliberately do this, is it can look pretty darn good from top down, right? And then you flip it sideways and go, oh my God, that's sixed. In other words, it's starting to create the number 6. I mean, I can really overdo this one and show you what I'm talking about. It's starting to turn into the number 6. All right, that's really exaggerated. But when I run into a ring, I'm to show a ring here just for this video, that I've sixed, and I'm deliberately sixing this one, I'll see it not just from the top-down view, right? Because the top-down view looks pretty good, but I also have to do that little flip, and I go, uh-oh, that end's not lined up properly. And just like I apply force to the ends to push them closer together, I'll apply force to straighten the ring out, and I can usually recover the 6 rings reasonably well. See right there, that's about as flush as you can get it. In any case, the big thing I was going to suggest to the person I was watching is not to do the vertical closure, because you get very little hand strength applied to closing the ring or fixing the gap when you do this. And I'm using entirely the wrong pliers for this, but you'll see I don't have any way of pushing my hands together. When they're this close together, and I'm also trying to push at an angle up here, I've got no leverage. You can, and you'll see there's a gap there, just a tiny one. If you either turn your hands towards each other, or, as I've seen a lot of mailers do, turn at least your right hand towards you, and this is a solid base. I've seen a lot of people do this. This has been a big thing lately. I've seen a lot of people inverting. If you invert, you're also providing a solid base. So I've seen people do this as well, and I'm not as proficient at it. but you'll still hear the click. And as I go looking for the closure, I can't quite see my hands from this angle. This is the other problem, is I've got too much hand in the way. But I can get it flush, and if I let go and do the little flip, I go, yeah, that's pretty good. Also, I probably applied too much force there, because that grip for me is a very strong grip. It really emphasizes. So I've actually managed to take a little bit of the anodization off the edge of the ring there. That's why that doesn't quite work for me. It's a strength grip that some people use, I think. It doesn't work for me. Not every grip works for everyone else. But what I find is that when I'm closing rings and I'm paying attention to what I'm doing, right, and I don't need to use that much force, I get a pretty good closure. It's not quite right. Pretty good closure. And you won't see me pre-close too often. Very, very rare that I do this outside the weave. Also, I'm being very careful with these closures. There's a lot of spring back on these. But I can get pretty good gapless, flush, non-six closures with just a couple more seconds per ring, just looking. And, that's a little sixed. And so I'll fix that. And this is what a lot of people do, is we take our time, we look through the closures, and we fix them. You can still see the one that I closed with the pliers parallel. It just kind of sticks out from the group. Right, you can just see the ends of the ring. And it's not unrecoverable either, too. Again, the game is, rather than just trying to push the ends together like by raw force, and, well, that doesn't do anything, is you actually push them together while you're opening and closing the ring. And again, the ends have gone past each other there. They'll actually hit each other. And you'll hear that little click as the two ring ends are kind of fighting to get past each other. And what's going on is the ends are pushing against each other. And that's a good thing. Because you've got a nice solid closure. And I'm not even looking down at my hands. I'm just looking at the face cam, and I can tell I've got a good closure. Well, it's a little bit of a line, but I'll fix it with my fingers because I'm a jerk. Anyway, so again, it's not a bad thing that you see a little bit of a vertical black line. Again, this ring is probably the most mangled. That's one of the ones I think I did vertically. But when you see a gap, you have to go back and fix it, because your customers are going to see that. They're going to see a lack of attention to quality and detail. It's very difficult to get the rings closed. If you use a technique that doesn't generate some strength for you, and this type of thing, like, it shows up even worse in pictures. I mean, I'm using just a camera that's positioned almost 6 feet from me. 5 feet from me. I mean, this is way up. It's outside my reach. And I've got a giant zoom lens on this. So most of the bad closures are hidden, and most of the flaws are hidden. But, the attention to detail and closures. And again, it's not okay. It's not a problem if occasionally you see a little bit of a line. I mean, this one is one I'd probably go back and fix. And again, it's I'll open it, hit the ends, and I'm looking for the ends pushing against each other. This one might be one of the ones where you're going to get a black line no matter what, but I don't feel that black line. It's a little sixed. Anyway, that's ring closing for me. Hopefully it helps a little bit in terms of the explanation.